Let's get right to it. We head into week number 13 of the NFL season. Now, for most of us in our fantasy leagues, this is the final regular season week. So for most of you, or for some of you, you're out of it. I'm sorry. For a lot of you, you're battling for one of those final playoff spots. And for others who have been more fortunate, you are trying to get that first round bye. Whatever it is that you got going on this weekend, let's make sure we're strong, finish good, and try to get into the postseason. Let's start right away at the quarterback position as we take a look at some of the guys I think could be pretty good in week number 13. First of all, I'm going with Eli Manning. Eli Manning of the New York Giants had a pretty big game, even though they got destroyed last week against New Orleans, was throwing the ball over the place to Victor Cruz. A lot of it was in catch-up duty. Well, here's the deal. They're taking on Green Bay. Now, a lot of people think maybe Green Bay is ready to trip up. I'm not sure about that because Green Bay has looked unreal. Either way, I think Eli Manning is going to have to throw the ball. So if you're in a pinch and you want a good start, I think Eli Manning's pretty solid at quarterback this week. Same goes for Ben Roethlisberger. He's taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, Big Ben and the Bengals met just a few weeks ago, and Roethlisberger and Pittsburgh won. That was in Cincinnati. I think Pittsburgh takes care of business at home. They're in a battle for first place in that division with Baltimore. Look for a big game from Ben Roethlisberger. Now we move to the tread lightly. A couple guys at quarterback that I'm just going to be careful with in week number 13. One is Joe Flacco of the Baltimore Ravens. They're on the road in Cleveland, and believe it or not, even though Cleveland is not a good football team, their defense is actually solid, one of the best in the NFL. So I don't like Flacco and the Ravens going in there and putting up a lot of points. They probably win a close, ugly game. And I'm also going to tread lightly with Carson Palmer of the Oakland Raiders. They are on the road against Miami, and Miami, believe it or not, has been playing very well as of late. I just don't like this start for Carson Palmer. Let's move on to the running back positions. A couple running backs that I am looking at this week to have some pretty big games. One is Matt Forte. Now, most of you are going to put Matt Forte in your lineup anyway if you've got him. But Matt Forte, if you remember, I said tread lightly last week with him. Now this week I'm like full bore ahead. He is going to have a great game as they are taking on Kansas City at home. And I'm also going to start BenJarvus Green-Ellis. The Patriots are taking on the Colts. This is not the marquee game the NFL thought they had on their hands as these two teams battle every year. This one will be way different. No Peyton Manning. Colts haven't won. This will be ugly. Look for the law firm, BenJarvus Green-Ellis, to have a good game. Now let's go to the tread lightlies at the running back position. Two of them in which I'm going to tell you be careful with, and one big time. This guy almost got dud of the week honors. Steven Jackson, the running back for the St. Louis Rams. Now, a lot of you have him. You've been playing him. He's been pretty good this year, but they're going up against San Francisco this week. The 49ers don't give up 100-yard rushers. They haven't in a couple years, and they don't give up touchdowns either to running backs. Not a single running back has scored a touchdown against San Fran this year. It's an amazing stat. Don't play Steven Jackson. Trust me, you will thank me when it's all said and done. And let's also stay away from Peyton Hillis. He returned to the lineup last week for Cleveland, but going up against Baltimore, they've got a couple other running backs in Cleveland. It's just not a good situation. Tread lightly with Peyton Hillis. Let's move on to the wide receivers. Now, a couple wide receivers I'm going to talk about this week. These are the touchdown dance boys. One is Victor Cruz of the New York Giants. I like Victor Cruz this week against Green Bay. He was huge late in the game last week, but Eli Manning seems to like to throw the ball to Victor Cruz. So if you got him, go ahead and start him. And I'm going to say the same thing for Stevie Johnson in Buffalo. He got in a little bit of trouble with his touchdown dance, and maybe some ramifications come from that within the organization. But I like the matchup against Tennessee for Stevie Johnson and the Buffalo Bills. Now I'm going to tread lightly with two wide receivers. One is Andre Johnson of the Houston Texans. I know he's back, and why would you tread lightly? I'll give you a couple letters. TJ. You're like, huh? TJ Yates. That's the quarterback for the Houston Texans. Who the heck is TJ Yates? They have lost Matt Schaub for the year. They lost Matt Leinart, poor guy, for the year. They are in a world of hurt. TJ Yates is starting for Houston. Therefore, I'm not putting Andre Johnson in my lineup. Sorry. Also, tread lightly with Anquan Boldin. Back to what I talked about earlier, the matchup against Cleveland. I just don't like it for Baltimore this week. Let's move on to the sleeper of the week. The sleeper of the week is a guy that, not quite sure if he's going to do well. I'm here to tell you I think this guy could be a good fantasy start in week number 13. This week's sleeper of the week is C.J. Spiller, the running back for the Buffalo Bills. Now, he takes over for Fred Jackson, who unfortunately gone for the season. I know he's huge for a lot of you fantasy owners all season long. Spiller didn't have a great debut last week, but I think this week's matchup is more favorable. I really think Buffalo is going to get off the snide. They've lost like 4 in a row. I think they win this week, and I think C.J. Spiller gets into the end zone and has a pretty good game. So there is your sleeper of the week, C.J. Spiller of Buffalo. And now it's time for the dud of the week, the guy that just is not going to get it done. Period. The end. The dud of the week this week, Cedric Benson of the Cincinnati Bengals. They are on the road taking on Pittsburgh. Now, Benson was huge last week, over 100 yards, touchdown. He's actually had a pretty decent season. He's not going to have a good game. He didn't have a good game when they played Pittsburgh in Cincinnati. He had like 57 yards rushing. He will not have a good game this week. Trust me, if you've got him and you have a better option, sit Cedric Benson this week. He is your dud of the week. That's it. That's how we do it. That's Ash's Fantasy Facts. Very formal for week number 13. Make sure you get your lineups in on time. Thursday night game, Philly and Seattle. If this is your last week, I wish you the best of luck. Let's get a W, and let's move on to the playoffs.